Namaste, all the wonderful people out there. I'm Shweta Bhattcha, and I believe walls and ceilings of most visited places, decorated with visual arts, emit a sort of energy that can enhance the environment in education centers, hospitals, hotels, and even homes. This is based on research from University of Minnesota that shows how in the earliest times, humans have been sensitive to their surroundings to survive, which means that we have an innate awareness of our environment. Take, for example, a child. A child's brain is a dry sponge capable of sucking in all the knowledge and thoughts from the environment they are exposed to. As an elementary school student, a wall mural on an Indian queen, her maids, and elephants as a backdrop of the hall helped me figure out what I want to do in life. My own reaction to my environment is the reason why I was super sure of making a beautiful environment for my kids and loved ones who visited us frequently at our place. This brings me to today's topic, why frescoes are important. In order to answer that question, let's first begin with what is a fresco. A fresco is a wall mural. Fresco in Latin means fresh and secco meaning dry in Italian, known as fresco secco wall mural painting technique. To explain this best, let's look at the example of Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel in Rome. How are frescoes made? Let us understand this technique, how it was found. Wall murals are established as a form of art in religious places and palaces as decoration. As main subject, the legendary avatar and closely related people were painted in their heroic forms. Then the stories and events revolving around these publicly popular people were in the scene as the demand increased. Eventually, the durability of the frescoes and surface painting was challenged by weather and aging. Perpetuity was found in chemistry and science as a result to record their profound, wonderful, hard work, artwork. Now let's dig out the mystery of fresco's permanence through our science lab. Fresco is a surface painting on a wet plaster wall. The plaster is based on chemistry of minerals known such as limestones with added compounds of adhesive, paints, and sand. Limestones are commonly found in warm marine waters. One molecule of calcium, one carbon, and 3 oxygen molecules make limestone. When limestone is heated up to 1500 Fahrenheit, this brings down to calcium carbonate, to calcium oxide, and calcium dioxide. The calcium dioxide recreated from limestone is called quicklime, which is also known as alkali, that dissolves in water. Quicklime mixed with water is now calcium hydroxide or slacklime. Addition of sand creates space between the plaster molecules, allowing CO2 to quicken the creation of calcium carbonate. Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel are frescoes that were made with this technique. To speed up the plaster's drying time and in order to receive a fine surface for detailed painting process, Michelangelo added ground volcanic ash instead of sand. This volcanic ash came from the Mount Vesuvius, the same mountain which destroyed the city. Before adding the paint, 2 layers of plaster are added, called as Arrixio and Intonaco. After the Arrixio layer dries, the final Intonaco layer is added. The fresco painters must paint quickly on this wet surface before it turned back into limestone. So an artist completes the circle, but infuses colors in this process as the limestone goes back to its original natural form. Thus, the paint becomes permanent part of the solid structure, extremely stable and can survive for centuries. The amount of science involved in fresco painting is amazing, isn't it? Until the middle of 15th centuries, Indian fresco painters frequently painted the underdrawings tracing of the main subject with a red earthy color called cyanabia. Then the water-soluble color pigments made from rocks, minerals, and other natural sources were added. Now the question is, how did this work of frescoes come to exist? And who sponsored them? It is an expensive technique when it comes to gigantic walls and surfaces after all. The symbolic relationship between art commissioners and artists existed, and many of the city's most famous works of art were commissioned and paid not by the church, which could ill afford the enterprises in 14th and 15th centuries, but by wealthy businessmen who often possessed through their commercial dealings in Flanders, France, Spain, and the Levant, experience of other cultures and traditions. By the middle of the 15th century, some 600 of these chapels were scattered throughout Florence. Each one, as it was commissioned, presented a rich opportunity for artists to invent, experiment, and each one, once completed, provided a lesson or example for the next generation to learn from and then develop and extend. Now that we have better understanding of what frescoes are, let's return to the question, why are they important? The first reason, as I have mentioned in my opening, is that we as humans are impacted by our environment. Art can educate and inspire. Although painting, music, dance, and poetry all are forms of art, what separates painting from the other three is that it provides its audience with a sentiment which is discernible. Most of us believe what we can see. And hence, when one sees a painting, one can feel by looking at something which is enjoyable. Without intending to trivialize the wonderful art of writing, in painting, the protagonist tries to reach the mind of its patron through a tangible yet cryptic portrayal of objects, whereas in the other case, the emotion of the author can easily reach its audience by an articulated arrangement of words. In this context, the art of painting, for me, provides both the patron and the creator to think differently and come to a common point of understanding. The second reason why frescoes are important, they carry great ideas and messages from the past, and great ideas must not die. We all have our own story called life. As we all know, the primitive man started life, basics, and eventually found the fire and will. Human grew more intelligent over the years, but how? By passing on the treasures of knowledge, generation to generations, in one era to the next. From Stone Age to Bronze Age to Iron Age, and then just one click and done age. We see the ways and means the prehistoric man used to survive when we look at the cave walls that bore paintings. These paintings were the first language medium, carrying messages to communicate in the absence of its creator. Rock painting of a bull and horse is prehistoric. Caves of Laxo, Dordogne, France, c. 17,000 BC. If we didn't have this image, how would we know how the life was in prehistoric time? Isn't this a picture worth 1,000 words? Unearthed Ajanta and Ellora caves are probably the oldest evidence of wall paintings found in India. The story of Buddha, who originally was a prince, Siddhartha, as found in this place, enlightening us even in today's era, Bodhisattva. Late 5th century, likely done in 477. These murals survive in the interiors of rock-cut Buddhist monastery of Ajanta. It is necessary to record knowledge we have cultivated today in thousands of subjects through centuries of deep research. Documentation and digitization of these records are always taken seriously by the best people of our time. However, this remarkable success of human being needs one more way to preserve in an everlasting form too, frescoes. The span of time these frescoes survive from ancient time till date is almost like forever. Historians could successfully decode languages and hidden meanings through their discovery. The frescoes brought life to us. Frescoes paintings of Rajasthan, India, medieval frescoes on the wall of tomb of Emperor Koryo dynasty, Khoesong, North Korea, tradition and culture of Asia, Oriental people in a tea ceremony, samurai warriors and geisha, classic wall mural ancient Japan. Fresco anonymous Chinese Ming dynasty, Giotto di Bondon frescoed 4 chapels in the Franciscan Basilica of Santa Croce. School of Athens, famous frescoes by Italian Renaissance artist Raphael. It was painted 1509 and 1511 to decorate with frescoes the rooms in the Apostolic Church. Tigre region, Utopia, wall murals of saints and iconographic scenes painted in naive African Christian style on wall of Petro V. Polo's church. Vienna, Austria, August 6, 2016. Frescoes by Daniel Gran on the ceiling of the State Hall of the Austrian National Library. Today, the world has evidence of the time lived, rejoiced, sacrificed, and experienced. These frescoes made permanent marks on history by their longevity. We cannot rewind the time, but we surely can have glimpses of our past and compare with our modern present profoundly. Frescoes can contribute extraordinarily as our vision, projected thoughtfully, infused into walls and become immortal. Meaningful events, presentations, technology, world issues, resonated stories, culture, prestige, community formations, claims on burgeoning hemispheric modernity, such frameworks from a heart of the muralist, empowered by beautiful people inside out, is one important idea I feel is worth sharing today. Art produced in public sphere, by its very nature, has a deep impact on humanity. According to Harriet F. Seney, the issues in public art controversy are always the same. The extensions among the population, critical academic definitions of art, perceived imposition of taste, the aesthetics, politics, controversies over public work, reinforce the sense of heterogeneity and instability of places, audience, and communities. Mexican muralist Diego Rivera's fresco method was closest to the Renaissance fresco paintings. His indigenous works of frescoes glorify the time, issues, stories, and events of early 1900s in New York, Mexico, and Michigan. His paintings on Ford Motor Rouge plant are fascinating, thought-provoking, and stupendous ideas for the audience from all over the world because they depict an integrated and equal workforce far in advance of that reality. His work was visionary. The north and south walls of Rivera Court, Detroit Institute of Arts. The frescoes in the Detroit Institute of Arts on 27 panels are breathtakingly beautiful and as bright as they looked when they were made available for viewing to the public for the first time in 1933. Frescoes are examples of radical public art in this world. Here is one question to you all. How can we contribute to the world and our future generations? Thoughts that evoke emotions, ideas that inspire, an environment for progress is everything this talk is all about. Almost all of us want to be remembered for a reason, and many of us want to give back something to the society. And frescoes can be instrumental to achieve these goals. Frescoes can be an integral part of many art therapy centers, rehabilitation places, children's hospitals, schools and colleges, government buildings, and organizations. People have enjoyed a beautiful sight wherever such presentations have created a difference. We need not restrict frescoes to museums, caves, or public places, as they can be done within the boundaries of your house, or maybe in the entrance of your workplace. What better way could it be other than a fresco for an artist like me to be useful in this span of life? Especially when everything is changing so fast and yet everything is perishable. How can we beat the lifespan of a fresco unless the world goes underneath water and we reincarnate from Noah's Ark? Thank you.